A couple of people who've been on the show a few times. Semi-regular guest Robert Sterling, who is who runs the website The Conformist. That's conformist.com. Conformist with a K. Lots of really interesting parapolitical conspiracy theory stuff, and just plain good old-fashioned humor, often of a edgy variety. And he's also blogging at robolini.blogspot.com. Also with us from Austin, Texas, is Mack White. And Mack, again, has also been on the show a few times, and he is co-host of a radio show, Psy-Op Radio. And he also is a illustrator, has several books, graphic novels, comic books, however you want to call these, and those include The Bush Junta, The Mutant Book of the Dead, Villa of the Mysteries, and and Robert Sterling also, I didn't mention, he's calling out of Las Vegas, so we'll get their respective perspectives. And first of all, Robert Sterling, welcome to the show.
Pleasure being here as always, sir.
Yeah, always good to have you. Mack White, welcome.
Hi there. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's great to have you, and we're going to really mix things up today. And Mack and Robert, you want to say hello to each other?
Hello there, Robert. Good to meet you finally over the phone. yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's an honor to actually speak to you. I've been officially friends of yours through Facebook for a while, but it's nice to actually speak to a friend for once. Yes, it is.
So, okay, yes. Let's start off here. Just kind of get some initial perspectives. And Robert, when the whole Occupy Wall Street movement came to your attention, what kind of were your thoughts then, and how are you sort of feeling about it now?
It's kind of wavered. Like when I first heard about it, I thought, well, this is a good, nice first step, and it's about time somebody did this. And then it lasted for the second week, and then I was kind of just wondering, well, this is nice, but are they actually going to do anything? I mean, you could admire the perseverance, but it seemed to be like a kind of confused movement. And now, whatever the confusion is, I think just the fact that they're protesting and doing that first step, they're going to create a dialogue that could potentially become a real big and important social movement in our society.
Yeah, and Mack, your initial thoughts on it, sort of when you first heard about it, and how you're feeling about it now.
Well, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, great, there's a good protest. Too bad the media isn't covering it. And, well, as soon as there was some bad enough publicity due to the police brutality, for instance, the video of the 4 girls being pinned in there in Wall Street and pepper sprayed for no good reason, I and so many other people began to post the video on Facebook and what have you, and wow, suddenly the mainstream media seemed to have had no choice but to pay attention to what was going on. But it's, it's been a long time coming, and it's been badly needed, some kind of movement. We have, just had to stand by for so long now while just one crime after another has been committed by this, I would call it a fascist government. And, we've got a movement now, it looks like, but where it's going, I don't know. But here's hoping it's going someplace good.
Yeah, and I think that this is part of the reason why I want to talk about it today, and why some other good-hearted people, I think, as well. It's like, okay, we've got all this energy. This is a great thing, and let's. How can we help to channel this in a proper way? How can we let this not become just totally chaotic and not become co-opted, and how do we let it not be too overly infiltrated with people who have nefarious motives? And we're already seeing that. So how do we be on guard against that? And how do we keep this simple, a simple goal of what we want to do with this movement? We can do more things as we go along, but how do we create that one sort of simple goal that pretty much everybody can agree on? And that's kind of what I'm feeling about that. What your thoughts on that, Robert?
Yeah, well, I feel kind of positive about that in this case because I think the most important thing is to figure out what you really want to do and what you really want to accomplish. We were talking before the show about actually what happened in D.C. at the Smithsonian, the Air and Space Museum, where there was the anti-war protest out front about how they were having I guess some sort of display on the history of modern drones, and there was a protest out there. And one of the people who was involved was actually an editor for the American Spectator, a very right-wing magazine, and he basically rushed into the Smithsonian, and a few people did follow him, but then he basically was trying to create a kind of some sort of vandalism in there. That's my only conclusion, because he was trying to rush into the place, and fortunately the people, even when they came in, I think the only ones who did were trying to unfurl some sort of banner there. So, nothing really, you could really criticize, and it shows you that these guys, at least in this one case, were not being fooled by someone who was trying to provoke them into doing something, vandalizing a national museum, which would really do a blackface to everything. And by the way, that was actually not even an Occupy Wall Street protest. That was an anti-war protest, but no doubt, and the media really just doesn't differentiate the two, which is probably a good thing, because I think people who are opposed to Wall Street are also opposed to the wars.
Well, one of my thoughts about that was that we had this big anti-war movement that sort of fizzled after W left office, but now we have this movement, and it's just like this sort of supersedes it, because the problem with us going to war for no real reason is, because the real reason is it's all about profit, and it's about corporations and Wall Street. They make money off of this stuff. And so that's the bigger problem. If we solve this problem of corporations owning everything, including our government, we won't have this problem of going off to these unnecessary wars. You agree with that, Mack?
Yes, I do. Back in 1968, there was a valiant attempt to exorcise the Pentagon, and I think that wouldn't be a bad idea now. But really, I think, they have identified with this movement the real target. We need an exorcism of the Wall Street. That's what we need.
I like
yes,
that.
Provocateurs are something to watch out for, co-opting. COINTELPRO did not stop with the 60s, and we can learn from history. This is something very important to educate people in this movement, is the degree to which the establishment will go to infiltrate groups, to set up phony groups, phony extreme radical groups, and all sorts of things, and to stage false flag events to discredit the movement. These are serious things to be aware of, but being aware of them, I think, goes a long way towards preventing them.
Yeah. I think we definitely, those of us who, if are not exactly veterans of the 60s but have studied it, know, this is what goes on. This is, you mentioned COINTELPRO, just some American intelligence establishment, I like to say, is like they are defending the moneyed establishment, and it's what we'll do whatever it takes, and if it means infiltrating and spying, and I mean, hell, we know that these totally peaceful anti-war groups in from 6-7 years ago were being spied upon, and probably still are. Mm-hmm. And so here, this is something that's like threatening to take down Wall Street. I mean, not necessarily to destroy the whole system, but to make it be an accountable player in our system here, to make it be like that, where they don't own everything and that they're having to pay taxes like the rest of us. So that is a threat. So certainly, I would think all of these dirty tricks will come into play.
That's right. And simple co-opting. At the Occupy Austin event, day one, I made a video, and I interviewed different people, one of whom was my friend, radio host Jack Blood, who pointed out in the interview that, he was among the founders of the original Tea Party, when it was really a populist movement when it was, before it got co-opted by the likes of, Sarah Palin and Karl Rove and what have you, and was turned into this, mutant version of what it originally was. And he talked about how, we have to watch out for this, the media, the mainstream media, and other parties who will attempt to characterize this movement here, the Occupy Wall Street, as a leftist movement, and try to pit that against the other movement that they co-opted, the Tea Party movement, as a right-wing movement, and to get us fighting against each other. That divide and conquer is another pitfall we really need to watch out for, because we've got to look for that common ground, that common enemy.
Yeah.
It's not really about left versus right. It's not really about Republican versus Democrat, and so forth. It's about us versus them. There's so much common ground here.
Right, and that's why I like the term the 99% movement, because it's really all of us, all 99%, really just against the 1% who own almost everything and want to make it actually everything. Robert and Mack, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. Sorry we couldn't get our friend from Riverside. So, and again, Robert Sterling, you can check out his website. That's the Conformist, conformist.com. Conformist with a K. He's also blogging at robolini.blogspot.com. And you have a book as well, Robert. What was that book again? It came out about, 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, 50 Reasons Not to Vote for Bush, which fits right well with the Occupy Wall Street, because, really, as I even mentioned in the book, that Bush is just the front for the money and power, that everything that was wrong where our country was heading was kind of manifested in him. So, he's really the scapegoat in the sense of it was and is the money players, in Wall Street who are the problem.
And, Mack White, and you had your book, The Bush Junta, which we talked about on the show, which was really fascinating and got into a lot of behind-the-scenes activities of the intelligence community and the Bush family and all of their associates and their connections there. And, so what is, you still keeping up on all of that kind of stuff?
Oh, still keeping up on it, but you mentioned the Bush Junta. Well, what Robert just said is the same case with the Bush Junta, that, it's not really so much a partisan book as it was to take an example, this specimen, George W. Bush, and to analyze the history not only of that particular man and his administration, but the family, the Bush crime family, as a template for understanding all of these ruling class type families, all of these gangsters and fascists and so forth. It's very important to understand where the Bush family came from. It's very important to understand, well, first of all, the connection with Hitler and the Third Reich through George W.'s grandfather, Prescott Bush, who was Hitler's banker. And I'll tell you, that connection to fascism continues to this day.